Before you drop 7 figures and move to Texas, or even better, the Texas Hill Country, know this much. Luxury in Texas looks a lot different than it does in New York City or San Francisco. Most experienced luxury buyers I'm working with right now, they are not worried about massive square footage. They're not worried about in-home movie theaters. They're not worried about quartz countertops. They're looking for things that are very, very specific and very, very unique to the Texas Hill Country. They're looking for quiet things. And these quiet things, if you're looking in $1.5 million plus range, you might end up wanting to look for these things in your next luxury home here also. The Hill Country now, it's home to physicians, it's home to founders, it's home to tech moguls. It's home to people that are looking to actually build something big, build a legacy, something they can pass on to their kids. The luxury properties I'm talking about today, these aren't trophy homes anymore. These are long game plan properties. The first thing I want to talk about, what people are prioritizing now, is land and space over square footage. I mentioned it earlier. You know, you can still buy 10, 15,000 square feet out here in the Hill Country, but most people aren't really looking for that anymore. They're looking for elbow room. They're looking for room to spread out. They're looking for a place that they can look. You know, I look behind me, we'll see a neighbor out here. That's what people are starting to prioritize. Again, the quiet things. If we're sticking with that $2 million price point in Austin, you can probably get 4,000, 4,500 square feet, but you're on a postage stamp lot. If you're lucky, you'll get a corner lot. You might get a 1/4 acre. Out here, $2 million, you're looking 25, 30 acres in a lot of situations and a really nice home on top of it. And the best thing about the land in a lot of the places out here is we're not talking about land for the sake of having a land. It's not like going and buying 30 acres on a mountaintop in Colorado and not having any usable land. Out here, you've got room to spread out. You've got flat area. You can actually grow a compound if that's what you want. Put that guest house in, put that casita in. You know what? Build a winery, put a wine tasting room out there. Go crazy, because again, you've got the ability to do that because you've got flat areas. And most buyers in your situation, they never really think about how the land functions. Like, what can they use it for? What can they build their life around on it? If you start out here with a 2,000 square foot house and you have a dream of a 10,000 square foot house, that's fine. You can start in that 2,000 square foot house or renovate it as a guest house and build that 10,000 square foot dream. But again, the ability to do that, the ability to spread out and have that privacy, that's what people are looking for. You can add that square footage later, but you can't add trees, you can't add wildlife, you can't add all these things that you're going to get just because you're looking for a little more land. The second thing I want to talk about, and it's really a part of the first one also, that extra land. Again, we're looking for the quiet things, privacy and tranquility. And this is something that luxury buyers learn real quick when you leave the confines of a city like Austin or San Francisco or New York. Out here, it's about the buffer that you have between you and your neighbors. The best properties you're going to find out here, they're naturally private. It's not because you built some kind of fort around you that nobody can see in or out of. The natural privacy, that's what people are looking for now. The other great thing you're going to get when you're out here is the sounds, all right? You're not listening to an interstate. You're not listening to fire engines and police cars and stuff like that. You're listening to the wind as it blows through the trees. You're listening to birds. You're listening to a fox bark. Did you know that fox bark, it's the coolest thing. It'll freak you out at night first time you hear it, but you'll recognize that sound. And at night, you'll hear the whippoorwills, you'll hear the owls. I mean, that's the quiet things. That's what that Hill Country luxury is all about. And it's really funny, some of the first comments that you hear when, you know, I've got clients that come from out of state all the time. And when we get out on a piece of property that's a little bit larger and a little bit removed, the first comment they always make is about the quiet, or that first night or that first week they spend in their new house. And they'll text me or they'll give me a call. Chris, it is so quiet out here. It is so dark out here at night. It's pitch black. There's no lights. There's no road noise. And I just laugh and I'm like, yeah, welcome to the Hill Country. It's pretty amazing. I've got a friend who's been looking for some property in the mountains in Colorado for a while. And, you know, she commented on it. They come down here and stay with us quite a bit. And, you know, they looked at a house they thought was absolutely perfect. And the pictures, it was perfect. And the video walkthrough was perfect. And they got out there, and because of the way it was situated, you could hear a highway that was about a mile away, and it was loud. And, you know, she just commented every time they come here, they love how quiet it is. And again, that peace and quiet, you can't get this in any other setting unless you get out away from cities. All right, now the third thing that my luxury buyers are really looking for at this point is, when you start getting into custom homes, and I know even in Austin, in big cities, custom homes, you're going to get some really cool, features and upgrades and amenities and stuff like that in the custom homes. But it changes a little bit when you get out into the Texas Hill Country. You start seeing a lot of really cool stone buildings, and not all of them are old. Some of them are new. But we've got so much limestone out here that the custom homes are going to be tailored a certain way. And if you can find a house that has been built, maybe in the 70s or 80s or even 50s or 60s. The stone styles change, and the way that the stone is laid changes. So if you've got some of those older buildings on the property, even if they haven't been renovated, just having that as a part of the story that the property tells is really, really cool. And when people get out here, you get a little bit of that rural feel, and when people are designing their houses, they want to match their environment. So, you're getting, I'm seeing a lot more like reclaimed wood beams, reclaimed cabinets, massive doors either built out of steel or wood. And again, I know you can get that in the city, but when you're out in a rural environment and it feels right, that's a lot different than, you can build a house on 20 acres in the hill country and build the exact same house in downtown Austin, and it's going to have a completely different feel. When you get out here and you start looking at some of these luxury houses that are on bigger land, and you're not seeing the hustle and bustle of the city life around you, that house just feels a little bit different. And the care and the thought that's going into what I'm seeing built out here right now is really, really unique. The thing that you don't see out here is that kind of formulaic, custom home build that I see in Austin, and I can see it all over the MLS. It's really formulaic, and I mean, I'm a fan of contemporary architecture, but when you see the same thing over and over and over, it ends up being a little bit hollow. And when you get out here, it's almost like people put a little bit more of themselves into the builds. Even the custom home builders that are building spec homes, they put a little bit more of themselves in, and the homes feel like they have soul, like there's character there that you just don't find anywhere else. I remember last year I was walking this custom home, and the first thing that you realize, you walked up to the front door, and it is a giant one-piece slab of mesquite. If you don't know what mesquite is, it's a really, really hard wood. A lot of it in South Texas and stuff like that. Well, the whole front door was a single slab of mesquite. And the funniest thing about it, not funny, I shouldn't say funny, the coolest thing about it was that the builder knew exactly where that slab of mesquite came from. He knew the city that tree was cut down outside of. That's the soul that you feel out here. The architecture, blending in, the builder knowing kind of where those materials are coming from and stuff like that. That's what makes this type of luxury unique. Now, the fourth thing is what I've noticed with some of the newer houses, the custom homes being built out here, and that's energy efficiency and smart tech. It doesn't seem like it blends, especially if you're building a house that's got a little more soul and just a little more of that hill country grit, but I'm seeing them blend in absolutely perfectly. Because I mean, why would you have a really nice luxury home if it doesn't live like a luxury home? Spray foam insulation, high energy efficiency, things like that, keep the heating and cooling bills down. That's really the cost of admission at this point. But the smart home tech, the windows that change from clear to opaque to give you privacy. I've seen some now that the windows go blackout, so you can actually be in your bedroom and have a beautiful view of the hill country, and then click a button on a remote and the windows go black and it blacks out the room. It's absolutely incredible. So the tech stacks that I'm seeing with the whole home automation and the outdoor lighting automation and things like that, every bit as luxury as you would find in any city or any location in the world. But when you take it into account with everything else that I'm talking about, about being out here in the hill country, it takes it to a new level of sophistication, in my opinion. Maybe you wouldn't think so, and you can see these things, but when I'm seeing it out here, and it's this beautiful, kind of ranch-style stone home with this amazing view, and then you walk in, you've got all the luxuries of tech. It's just really cool to me. And when I'm talking about tech, the other thing that's not lost on me is, we've got a lot of engineers and again, tech type people that are coming out here and have made their money, and now they want this little bit quieter lifestyle. And it's not lost on me. They want the energy efficiency. They want the tech stacks. They want all the cool stuff. But at the same time, they're also looking for sustainability. You know, they are having animals, you know, the chickens running around, which again, you know, luxury in Austin or New York or San Francisco, that's not happening. But you know, when you come out and you're on land, you want to be a part of the land. And so in addition to these amazing houses, you know, you've got sustainability features, you've got rainwater collection that people are choosing over having irrigated lawns. You know, I see a lot of artificial turf now, but you know, people still have their swimming pools and things like that. But you know, again, things like rainwater collection, compost bins, having chickens running around that they can, you know, they can have their slow food right here. That's that kind of hill country luxury. And you know, it's kind of funny where I grew up. You know, having your own chickens and butchering your own animals for food and stuff like that. You know, it was a little bit country. It's a little bit farm, and I guess it still is. But now it's almost like it's taken that turn from being a little bit redneck and a little bit hick to, you know, now it's a part of modern hill country luxury, and it's pretty cool to see it out here. Now, the fifth thing I want to talk about is, don't think that because I'm talking about land and having deer running through the yard and hearing foxes bark and stuff like that, that you're giving up your amenities, your city luxury amenities. In Texas, especially when you get outside of the cities, the temperatures are a little bit cooler, and we live outside. And so what you see are incredible outdoor spaces, massive outdoor patios, covered patios or you know, covered and uncovered, huge swimming pools, infinity edges built on the edge of a ridge that just gives you views for miles. That's not hard to find out here. In fact, again, as newer houses get built, it's a part of life because people want to be outside. Again, you're in nature. People aren't locked up inside. You know, the big, massive rolling doors that you can open up basically an entire wall in your living room, and it's indoor, outdoor space. That's not just the thing of Hollywood legend or you know, places that are more temperate climates. Most of the time here during the year, you can have that type of indoor, outdoor living. Now, yes, we do have mosquitoes. Yeah, they got mosquitoes everywhere, right? I don't know if they have mosquitoes in California. I don't know. And maybe not Arizona because it's so dry. Anyway, we do have mosquitoes. We got critters and stuff like that. But, you know, good pest control, and you can take care of the vast majority of it. My point being is you don't have to give up those amenities. You don't have to give up those really, really nice things of outdoor living. Your big outdoor kitchens, your outdoor dining areas, again, that swimming pool, the hot tub. You know, honestly, the swimming pools that I've seen out here are pretty insane. I don't know if you've ever seen a swimming pool shaped like the state of Texas or shaped like cowboy boots. I've seen them. I've seen a star-shaped swimming pool. So it's definitely got a Texas flair to it and a Texas flavor, but you're gonna have those nice amenities out here as well. Now, the sixth part of this, and you know, you're probably asking yourself, hey, yeah, I can get out in the middle of nowhere, but am I actually in the middle of nowhere? What you know, do I have access to healthcare? Do I have access to restaurants and bars and nightclubs and live music and things like that? In a nutshell, the answer is absolutely. But the thing that I got to remind you of is peaceful doesn't necessarily mean far out here. My home in particular, I'm 25 minutes from downtown Austin. I'm 25 minutes from the airport, and I can sit on my back porch and I've got views of the hill country. And again, fox, deer, porcupines, rabbits, yeah, skunks, snakes, obviously. But again, the point being is you don't have to get far out of Austin. So if you need to commute, even if it's a couple days a week, I've got a 25-minute commute if I want to go to downtown Austin, or if we want to go to Austin for you know, for a restaurant or a concert or something like that. We're close. So peaceful doesn't have to mean far. And when you look at a lot of the other areas around here, you know, I'm in Dripping Springs, actually between Dripping Springs and Austin, but Dripping Springs is about 30 to 35 minutes from downtown Austin, downtown Dripping Springs to downtown Austin. Wimberley's about another 15 minutes out, so call it 45 to 50 minutes. Johnson City, it's about maybe an hour out. So, you know, the further you get out, yes, you are getting further away from downtown Austin, but also the further you get out, you're getting closer to downtown San Antonio. Again, Wimberley is about that, you know, 45 to 50 minutes from Austin. It's about an hour and 15 minutes to downtown San Antonio. Johnson City is almost split directly between the two. Blanco is basically directly between the two. So you don't have to necessarily have Austin for your, you know, for your amenities, nightlife, stuff like that. San Antonio is a short drive away. And then, you know, when you talk about healthcare, there are are major hospitals out here. There's one in Marble Falls, there's one up in Burnett, you have San Marcos, which, you know, if you're down in the Wimberley or Blanco area, San Marcos is probably closer for you. So again, you're within anywhere from 25 to call it an hour, 25 minutes to an hour of really anything that you need. And all of these towns have grocery stores and things like that. You know me, I'm 15 minutes from one grocery store, I'm 10 minutes from another grocery store. Easy to get around. Everything that I need is accessible. So again, a little bit of a long diatribe and a rant there, but just to explain to you that peace and quiet, and the quiet things don't necessarily mean that you have to be so remote that you're gonna, you know, hate the commute or anything like that. You can find those things closer in. The seventh part of this is the conversation that I've been having a lot more lately, and that's the legacy appeal. Okay, the legacy being, look, Chris, I want to find a property that I can build a compound on, or I know, you know, maybe this is my last property and I know that, you know, this is my retirement. I'm going to be there, you know, God willing, 30 or 35 years, but I want to be able to pass this on to my kids. I want my grandkids to be able to have this property when I'm done. You know, had a client looking for, you know, roughly 50 acres, wanted something waterfront, and wanted to be able to build a house for themselves, wanted to be able to build a house for each of the 3 kids, and then they knew that one day when their life is gone, you know, that legacy is going to live on. You know, their kids can stay in the main house, the grandkids in the other houses. It can be kind of a weekend getaway place or a month-long getaway vacation place. But legacy is something that continues to come up in hill country luxury. And that legacy property kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about the quality of the build. You know, look, I'm not going to talk bad about any builders, but, you know, going and buying a tract home in a subdivision is a little bit different than a custom build, you know, with a wood frame house or a steel frame house or whatever. It's a little bit different. And the custom homes out here, the custom home builders that I know, and I know quite a few of them, the houses are built to stand the test of time. So that legacy property, you know, is going to stand up over time. Sure, the tech may change, the materials may change a little bit, but a well-built house is going to be out here for a long time. And if it's going to be out here for a long time, it goes back to, again, how were they designed? You know, what's the soul that's being put into it? Is it something, I like to say that I want people to design homes that will stand the test of time, aren't just trendy. You know, I see a lot of trends come and go. There's certain granites that come in and out. There's certain quartzites and quartz and things like that, and they come in and out of style. But if you put a lot of effort into, you know, putting what you want into a house that's going to stand the test of time, then that legacy property is going to look good for generations, if that makes sense. You know, it's kind of like, you know, let's call it an A-frame in the mountains. An A-frame in the mountains never goes out of style. Okay, well, these luxury properties out here, the way that they're designed, the way that they're built, they're not trendy. Again, they belong out here. They feel like settlers may have built a lot of these places. They just feel right. And I go back a lot to that as a realtor. When you walk into a place, when you see a place as you're driving up that curb appeal, does it feel right? And that's what I'm seeing over and over and over with these luxury properties. They feel right. So they're going to stand that test of time. And they do need to stand up for that, because, I mean, when you're thinking about a legacy property, you know, legacy properties are places where your kids get married or your grandkids get married, right? You know, you've got 10 or 15 acres. You can have the wedding there on the back patio looking out over the hill country. That's where your grandkids want to get married. Yeah, I know some of them want to get married in a downtown hotel. You know, you can't save them all, but I think you understand my point behind that. And in addition to, you know, getting married, it's the, you know, you've got the big fire pit on the back patio. And you know, I know in towns a lot of times it's harder to build a fire than it is out on your land, right? And that's just kind of something that you get when you come out here. But you know, you think about that big fire pit, and you know, after your kids got married and now you're sitting with the grandkids around that fire pit and everybody's telling stories about the wedding night, and you know, your daughter says, yeah, we were standing right over there, that's where we got married, you know, this was the view, and the grandkids are cooking s'mores over that fire on the back patio. That's, I mean, that's the things that you can't replicate anywhere else. Those are the things, and again, going back to the beginning, those are those quiet things, the things that you don't necessarily plan ahead of time, but when they happen, you're like, man, I couldn't have gotten this anywhere else. You know, there's no inheritance in the world that's worth the experiences that are happening because, you know, you bought that, you chose to buy that property, that, you know, that luxury estate out here, that legacy property out here in the hill country. But that's the thing, right? And kind of wrapping it up back to the beginning, that's the reason that you change the search. You know, the thought of those types of things happening. That's the reason that you're searching for a property out here as opposed to a property in there.